So we're starting our live show up again. We're going to be August 4th in Burbank, California, and August 7th we'll be in Chicago at Thalia Hall. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all tickets. Here's a very disappointing story about the 5 banks who control our entire country. Wells Fargo tells its own customers that it's shuttering all personal lines of credit. What, Jimmy? What does this mean? I'll tell you. Wells Fargo is shutting down all existing personal lines of credit in coming weeks and has stopped offering the product. The revolving credit lines, which typically let users borrow $3,000 up to $100,000, were pitched as a way to consolidate higher interest credit card debt, pay for home renovations, and avoid overdraft fees on linked checking accounts. Wells Fargo recently reviewed its product offerings and decided to discontinue offering new personal and portfolio lines of credit accounts and close all existing accounts, the bank said in the 6-page letter. The move would let the bank focus on credit cards and personal loans, it said. With its latest move, Wells Fargo warned customers that the account closures may have an impact on your credit score. Well, thanks. Another part asserted that the account closures could be reviewed or couldn't be reviewed or reversed. We apologize for the inconvenience this line of credit closure will cause, the bank said. The account closures are final. We realize change can be inconvenient, especially when customers' credit may be impacted. So you guys are going to hurt people's credit scores, and they know it. Customers have been given a 60-day notice that their accounts will be shuttered and remaining balances will require regular minimum payments at a fixed rate. One customer said the change is prompting him to switch banks after more than a decade with Wells Fargo. Tim Tomasi, a Portland, Oregon programmer, said he used a personal line of credit linked to his checking account to avoid expensive overdraft fees. It's a bit upsetting, he said in a phone interview. They're a big bank, and I'm a small person, and it feels like they're making decisions for their bottom line and not for their customers. A lot of people are in my position. They need a cushion every once in a while from a line of credit. Tomasi said he is considering opening an account at banks that don't charge overdraft fees. Dan Price says it's hard to stand out for being awful when you are a bank, but Wells Fargo really does do its best. And our economy is run by criminals. Our government's run by criminals. The criminals own the government. The criminals own the banks. Wells Fargo illegally pushed borrowers into subprime mortgages, falsified loan documents. That's the kind of people that are running your financial sector. They try to hurt the people who are at the bottom, and they do it for profit. Wells Fargo to pay $2 billion for allegedly lying about subprime mortgages. Accused of misrepresenting the quality of stated income loans in the run-up to the crisis. Wells Fargo to pay $175 million in race discrimination probe. Forever, these guys are just criminals. Wells Fargo charged with opening accounts without customers' permissions. So if you were a bank, you banked at Wells Fargo, they would open an account under your name and you didn't even know it. Why? Because the person who opened that account got a bonus. And why? Because the people who run the bank put that structure in place and encouraged them to screw their own employees. Wells Fargo fake account scandal may be bigger than thought. Wells Fargo shareholders can't sue us because they should have known we were lying. Wells Fargo put forth a defense in a legal filing aimed at getting shareholders' lawsuit dismissed, relies on the legal concept of puffery, essentially claiming shareholders can't hold the bank accountable for CEO Tim Sloan's statements that it was working to restore trust and be more transparent about its scandals because it should have been obvious that Sloan was lying. Wells Fargo will be the first of many closing lines of credits. If you aren't banking with a credit union, you may want to start looking. I bank with a credit union. Federal Reserve to lend additional $1 trillion a day to large banks. So they're using your money to prop up the people who are screwing you. The government, which is owned by the banks, takes your money, gives it back to the banks, and then says, screw them. Boy, $1 trillion a day to large banks, but you better pray you get unemployment extended. So now you know this is what's going on in America, and the Democratic Party is 100% behind it. Okay? They're owned by the banks. They're owned by Wall Street. So when you vote for someone in the Democratic Party, like, say, someone in the Justice Democrats or the Squad, and you think you're voting for a progressive, you're voting for Goldman Sachs. You're voting for Wells Fargo because the Squad votes with Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi is beholden to those same people. And so you think you're voting for a progressive, but you see how they vote. You see the Justice Democrats, they go along with Nancy Pelosi 100%. They said Joe Biden gets an A. So it's bad to vote for them because when you vote for AOC, Jamal Bowman, Justice Democrats, the Squad, you are voting for Wells Fargo Bank to keep doing this. You're voting for an expansion of the military-industrial complex. You're voting for bombing in Syria because they're not opposing him on anything. They're going along with all of it. So you thought you were voting against that stuff, but you really were voting for it. So stop voting for Justice Democrats and stop donating to them. And until people like Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kulinski tell you to stop donating to the Justice Democrats, they're part of the problem. Our live shows are back. August 4th, we're in Burbank. August 7th, we're in Chicago. We're going to Portland. We're going to Boston. We're going to everywhere. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for tickets.